What is the next phase of me? What is it I don't want to bring with me? What is more of my truth that I want to bring to the table? Most of us are in a liminal phase, right? Most of us are in that journey of becoming the next version of who we are, or in the journey of figuring out what we want next. It can be the most difficult place to be. Here I am in the middle of it, and I'm talking to you about it, and I know it's going to be okay. Hello and welcome to the Unlock Lab. I'm so glad you're here. I'm your host, Tosca. If you're new here, welcome. This is the place where you are just going to get unfiltered consult and counsel on how to live the next version of your life. And listen, I'm in it. I'm in it this summer. I can't even tell you. It's been, and I think actually this is a cycle for me. Like, summers are always a time of reflection. I feel like it's often a time of like rethinking what I want and where I'm at. And I think part of it for me is because my birthday is in September. So this is always like starting that process of evaluation and all that good stuff. So I don't know if it's that way for you, but if it is, hopefully I'm normalizing it for you right now. But yeah, like I'm excited to talk to you today because it's been a few episodes since I've been able to sit with you. I had some amazing interviews. If you've missed them, I hope you go back and check them out. I had a great conversation with the co-founders of Vital Voice Training, who help with executive presence and showing up authentically. Oh, what does that mean? Hey, listen, go check it out. It was a real gem dropping conversation with those brilliant ladies. And I also spoke with Susan Mille, who wrote the book Paused, and talked about identity and what happens when we are so wrapped up in our career and our job identity that it can be really detrimental to actually the level of happiness that we didn't even know was possible in our lives. So if you are in between jobs or know anybody that is an incredible episode. A lot of the work that I do is around like, how are we attaching ourselves to our identities, or, how do we get out of the old story that we're telling ourselves that's not true any longer, or that we want to find a different thread in our story based on going somewhere differently. And, frankly, that's the phase that I'm in right now personally, is what is the next phase of me, and what is it I don't want to bring with me? And what is more of my truth that I want to bring to the table? What is more of my unfiltered, uncensored thoughts that I want to share with you? And I think sometimes I can put things in a box, right? And I can say, hey, look, I'm talking to you about leadership. And most of the time I am, but I don't always have to follow some protocol that I think makes sense for those who are interested in leadership. I really want to talk to you about life, So anyway, I'm evolving. I don't know what it all means yet, but I share this to say, most of us are in a liminal phase, right? Most of us are in that journey of becoming the next version of who we are, or in the journey of figuring out what we want next. And it can be the most difficult place to be. But here I am in the middle of it, and I'm talking to you about it, and I know it's going to be okay. And I'm not going to say I know I'm going to figure it out, because I know that it will unravel and it will reveal itself to me in terms of this next version. And summer is a great time to allow that process to happen. And I'm catching you hopefully in these last weeks of summer. And I invite you to take time for yourself and reflect before entering the fall season. Speaking of reflecting, one of the things I wanted to talk to you today about was my trip to Yellowstone this summer. It was amazing. And I did a newsletter on this. And I just wanted to talk to you freely about it, because I think there was a lot of amazing things that hopefully you can take some learnings from. So first of all, the first thing I want to say about vacations is it's important to set yourself up for success. It's important to know what you need on your time away and what kind of boundaries you may need to set for yourself. One of the big boundaries I set for myself was I was really going to shut off work. I was really going to have my out of office on and not reply and really give myself an opportunity to disconnect. And I did that. And I am so glad that I did. And I'm not going to get on a freaking soapbox telling you about disconnecting. I'm just going to say, when you think about what you actually need, maybe part of that is disconnecting, and that may be uncomfortable holding boundaries for yourself. And I don't care if you're talking about one day on a weekend or a week-long trip somewhere else. I feel like I can't say it enough about setting yourself up for success. And that includes, what are the dynamics that work for you? I talk to so many people, right? And they're like, oh, I went on vacation and it was with my family and oh my gosh, it was too much. Or, oh, I had visitors and they were there for 9 days and I'm going crazy. And look, I'm going to drop the truth on you right now, which is you're doing it to your damn self. You have nobody else to blame but yourself when you set things up that you know aren't going to work for you. Like if you know that with certain people you have a time limit of like 2 days, then no, don't let them stay at your house for more than 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Like in this case of this Yellowstone trip, it was a week-long trip. And my husband and I knew that while we were staying outside of Jackson, Wyoming, we wanted to take 2 days away with just us to go to Yellowstone because we wanted to check that box while we were out there. We were so close. And so we did that, and it was fantastic. It was amazing. Look, I love nature and I love spending copious amounts of time in nature as often as I can. It's where I can meditate the best. And when I say meditate, I mean like walking in nature and looking at trees. I'm not talking about crossing my legs and sitting down. I'm just talking about being in the elements. And this may sound really simple, but I don't think that, I think in the craziness of life and the busyness of life, that people aren't giving themselves enough time to do this, quite frankly, where you're just giving yourself time to not be in a concrete jungle, and not be inside four walls, but to just be outside and ground that way, and be in the nothingness of that. And I know there's a lot of folks who struggle with nothingness. They struggle with boredom. They struggle with not having something to do. Great. That is the way, my friend, to the other side of whatever it is you want, because humans were not designed for constantly going. All right. I'm going to get off my soapbox about that, but maybe you needed to hear that. And that's why I just said it to you right now. The other thing about Yellowstone that I really loved was I did some things I've never done before. I went to a rodeo. So yes, it was my first rodeo. And I thought I was going to feel a little bit weird about, like the animals and how they were treated or whatever, and what was going on. But no, like I really looked at it like this is a cultural experience, and I knew that, and I was told that these animals are treated like athletes, which I love, like the bull riding and all the good stuff. And I loved watching the horses race. In fact, it's really inspired me. I want to go to like a horse race. I've never been. And like Saratoga Springs was on my list of like things to do. So anyway, more to come. Maybe I'll be able to see some horse races. But, I think the thing that really excited me about it was just seeing these, animals in their glory and in their unique talents. And it was really a sight to see. And then, the humans, right? And how we interact with this whole other world. It's really, there's a lot of lessons that can come from that. Speaking of, and I talked about it in my newsletter, but, while we were there is when that whole thing happened, when this gentleman in Yellowstone was flung by a bison. And here's the thing about that. Because he wasn't like super, super close, and you could make an argument that this was just, this bison was not in the mood you know, something poked and prodded that animal. And that's the thing about animals, right? Like, it's the same thing about humans. You just don't know when somebody's going to get triggered. But anyway, the thing was, right, that the news cycle, oh my God, it must have been a slow news cycle because this was in the news for days. And I think it's still in the news cycle because the gentleman had to go to the hospital and he had to get some surgeries and all the things. But everybody was all caught up in this spectacle of this guy getting flung. And I thought that there was so much more to learn from that experience, so much more to learn about who else walks the earth with us. And it's just also indicative of if you spend your time and energy focusing on the drama in your life, then you are not focusing on things that are going to move you forward. And it's really easy to do, especially in the workplace. We can be paying attention to the folks that have been flung, right? And by that, I mean, maybe they're going through something personal. Maybe they've been shamed publicly. You know, maybe they got let go. I don't know, but we can spend our time and energy on these things that aren't really propelling us forward, that aren't bringing our vibration to the next level. And so I just want to invite you to think about, even in this moment, has your attention been going to drama lately? Or has it been going to more positive things that are going to move you forward, things that are going to light you up, things that are going to help you be a better human? You know, we can easily get into this persecution mode or a victim mode, and that's not serving us. Or we can also be in a rescuer mode. This is like this big triangle that I'm talking about. And as you're ending this summer, right, you can ask yourself, have I been playing victim? Have I been playing persecutor? Or have I been playing rescuer? And start to identify, oh man, what do I need to do differently so that I can get into the autumn and the fall season in a much better state of mind and state of heart, you know? So that was one thing about Yellowstone that I thought was, you know, very interesting, what people were focusing on in the news. But one of the things about Yellowstone too was I always take pictures on my travels. I've been doing that since day one of my travels, and it was no different at Yellowstone. But I think after that, I just realized, you know, I have all these photos and I kind of keep them to myself. I tell myself they're not special. I tell myself nobody cares, and I don't do anything with it. And over the past couple of weeks, I have been doing something with them, and I have been posting them on my socials. And I bring this up to you because, first of all, it's really connected to like the inner critics in our head that tell us to keep things under wraps or push things under the rug, when actually they're some beautiful talents that we have, skills that we have, or aspects of us that we think don't deserve the light. And I'm all about bringing all those things to light that showcase, who I am and what I have for the world. So, you know, I also want to ask you, right, in this moment, what brings you joy that maybe you aren't giving yourself permission to do? Or what aren't you sharing about your gifts and your talents that, you know, people would benefit from you bringing it to the table? You know, maybe it's you love to sing, but you haven't done it publicly. Or, you know, maybe you love to write poetry, but nobody freaking knows. And nobody knows that you have a whole bunch of poetry sitting in your house doing absolutely nothing. You know, now is the time, you know, the sun is shining. Let the sun shine the light on what you bring to the table, because it's not just you that benefits, it's other people too, you know? And I think for a long time, part of, you know, me not sharing about, let's just say, travel was, I'm not trying to rub this in people's faces, that these opportunities. But when I look back historically at the times that I share more deeply about my travels, I remember that people are inspired by that. They're like, oh man, yeah, I want to go there, or I want to travel more. And travel is the greatest expander, expander of your heart, expander of consciousness. And also, I think travel allows you to be 100% who you are, because you're around mostly strangers, right? Except for who's traveling with you. And for me, I find a sense of liberation in travel. Like, oh, I just get to show up. And then it's like, oh, can I bring that with me in my daily life? Can I show up in the same way, as I am when I feel like I can be more unfiltered? Now look, I'm not saying go to work and be unfiltered. But I think you know what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, how can we let more parts of ourselves shine? Because I think that's what the world needs. It needs us to be us and not try to be somebody else and not try to fit in a box, but to just reveal who we are. Yeah. So I've been like, this is just a little bit of me sharing some of my latest thoughts with you, and just wanted to say hi. And hopefully there's some tidbits in here that you're thinking of. We are not done with summer. There's much left. So I hope you ask yourself what you're needing in these weeks of sunshine. And I hope you give yourself some permission to sit in the sunshine and get that vitamin D. I know that I need it. I know that I also have been needing some beach and ocean time. So I've been doing that, and plan to do that as much as I can before the season ends. So yeah, thank you for coming to the Unlock Lab. If you took something from this conversation, I hope you would like, rate, review, subscribe to wherever you're listening to this podcast, and check out some of the old episodes on this podcast. There's so much goodness there. And send this episode to somebody who you think maybe could use some messages around taking advantage of the summer season, no matter what is going on. All right. It's been such a pleasure to be here with you. I look forward to seeing you next time on the Unlock Lab.